Hello again. I want to talk about things concerning the economy, where things are at, where things are going, and what to watch for, and how to prepare. For the most part, but I really want to focus on where things have been and where they're continuing to go as far as where our money, our labor is being spent. For example, 1947. Scratch that. Why can't I get that? Hello, I'm back. Talk about a few things. First, I'm going to start with 1964. The war on poverty began. So that's one war that they talk about. That's still in play, and that costs almost $500 billion a year. That's yearly for the war on poverty. And that doesn't include Social Security. It doesn't include Medicare. It just includes all the little programs and the things they have in place to fight this war on poverty, they claim. And nothing's gotten better since 1964. It just continues to get worse. So why would they have this in play, and why do they need to spend almost $500 billion a year on it? I'll continue. 1971. The war on drugs began. That is still going today, along with the war on poverty. And the war on drugs is $25 billion a year, roughly. So since 1971, almost every year, $25 billion is spent on the war on drugs. Since then, nothing's been different, nothing's been improved, nothing's been increased. The drugs haven't disappeared or even lowered. Things have just gotten worse, especially from the eyes of the war on drugs. So, if we move on to the war on terror, that began in 2001, that is roughly, and it continues today, that is roughly $130 billion yearly. That includes everything they can name. All the weapons that they continue to make, all the surveillance that they continue to do with the NSA, and the TSA is in there. All the stuff that they put in place, not all, but most of the stuff they put in place since 2001 that takes away our freedom and our rights is the war on terror. And that's $130 billion that's spent yearly on that. So, started in 64, the war on poverty, still going today, $200 billion. 1971, the war on drugs started, continues today. That's $25 billion yearly. And then you have the war on terror, started in 2001. That's $130 billion yearly. So with those tremendous amounts being spent on really nothing to show for, it hasn't changed anything except take away our freedoms for the most part. And that's continuing to grow, and next thing you know, there's going to be another war. Is that going to be the war on disease? Is it going to be a war on sickness? Is it going to be the war on what that relates to this virus issue that they tell us we're in and we are locked down for, or house arrested for, the CV sickness, whatever you want to call it. You can't say the name or you get a strike. So with that being said, once you're in a war, there's no limit to what can be spent. There's no limit as to what the government can and will do, and how many rights the government will take away, because you're at a state of war. So we're at a state of war on poverty, war on drugs, war on terror. And that is part of the major issue. It's just a scapegoat for them to keep spending, and no one really questions that. All these wars never ended, and my assumption, I guess, is they never will. There's just going to be more wars, that they call it, continued to be added on as justification for their spending, and they're taking away our rights. For example, if you would compare 9/11 to this sickness, what they call it, this CV sickness, pervasive sickness, whatever, you want to call it, that won't get me docked. So if you go down 9/11, it's the fear the terrorists, hate the Muslims. Then they impose a Patriot Act. They start it. Don't question the government. New surveillance measures in place. Trade freedom for safety. Trust the people on TV. And then let's fight an invisible enemy was their card, their calling card. Now if you go to this CV sickness, it's fear the virus. Hate your neighbors. Trace Act is imposed. Don't question government. New surveillance measures. Trade freedom for safety. Trust the people on TV. And then let's fight this invisible enemy. And I gotta say, it's pretty similar to the prior one, to the Patriot Act. They're pretty much the same thing. And they keep this in place to keep people behind them and thinking we're fighting something so they can take away our rights and our purchasing power, our money, if you want to call it that, without really any resistance or any questions. It's the thing to do. Get behind us because we're fighting this invisible enemy. So if you think about that, that's the way everyone's under surveillance on their computers, their phones, tracked, traced today, and they're trying to put more in place. And people need to wake up to that and start resisting against that, whether that is not having your cell phones or it's not going on certain things, not doing what the government says we need to do to fight this invisible enemy. So the fear there is there's going to be how many more billions dollars spent yearly on this new war that they're putting in place, in my opinion. So if you think about it, do they take our rights away? Absolutely. They take our freedoms away. And on a sidebar to this, so think about this. At 18, you're an adult. You can vote when you're 18. You can gamble when you're 18. You can go to war when you're 18. And once you're 18, you have to pay taxes. Yippee, you get to pay taxes. You're an adult at 18, they say. Remember that. But you can't buy alcohol at 18. You can't buy cigarettes or tobacco products at 18, but you're an adult at 18. So if I can vote at 18, I can go to war at 18, and I have to pay taxes at 18. Why can I not have alcohol when I'm 18 and buy tobacco products at age 18? Seems pretty ridiculous there. Seems like there's something under the lining, something imposed for some other reason other than caring about you as they steal your purchasing power, steal your money by virtue of taxes, and take away your rights under surveillance. Do they really care? Absolutely not. See, so it seems like there's another war that they're not talking about on intelligence and freedom. There's always been a war on freedom, for my opinion. But with that being said, they're pushing for another stimulus package. Don't know how big it's going to be, but they're talking about getting people some more crumbs to keep them happy, as the high percentage of it, most of it goes to the banks and their friends to buy assets, whether that's purchasing land, property, taking people's homes, doing whatever they can to build them up as they're taking the little guy down through this hidden tax called inflation, which has tremendously spiked, and no one's really feeling it horrible yet. It's right around the corner as soon as money starts being spent, money velocity in the economy. And I'm thinking that's what they're going to try to push with this next stimulus, is try to put something on there to get people to spend it more, because the last one, people put it away, a high percentage has, and that's not acceptable for the powers that be. So think about that. Think about What can I do? You can buy assets. You can buy, whether that's precious metals, gold, silver, anything that's going to hold value, and not get taken day by day like it has been. Your purchasing power, that is, goes down as their power and their assets go up. So think about this. Think about the wars that we're still under. War on terror, war on poverty, war on drugs. And what's next? And prepare yourself. Stay vigilant. Protect your health and protect your wealth.